Welcome to our Managed Services Overview webinar. My purpose today is to introduce you to the managed services approach to business. Like the manager in the picture, multitasking is a fact of life. What is important and what can be done better by others is a perspective often blurred by hectic day-to-day operational realities. Large businesses, such as can be found in the Fortune 500 in retail, hospitality, utility, and other industries, have used managed services for many years. Now, this business model is available to mid-sized businesses and not just for information technology managers. Managed services now extend into a broad range of functions. In the next few minutes, we will explain what we mean by managed services, how this way of doing business can save you money and improve your operational efficiency. Let's get started. The concept of managed services is not new. Starting about 10 years ago, companies needed to find a way to reduce the cost of information technology processes. Information technology, or IT in shorthand, was rapidly becoming the basis for competitive success in many industries that needed to acquire and process huge amounts of data about customers and their behavior. More data required more machines, people to operate them, and software to manage both machines and people. Rather than continue to add significant overhead, companies began developing relationships with services providers that gradually evolved into large-scale outsourcing of entire departments. The managed services provider business model was established, and the world of IT was changed forever. Since then, companies have started to think about how other functions that are not central to their primary business focus, but nonetheless impact the efficient operation of the business, could be outsourced to managed services providers. It's not your father's business model. For most of the 20th century, the traditional way of handling growth was to hire people into the company, train them, and put them to work at a specific function within well-defined and measured processes. Finding and hiring people became the primary function of what became known as human resources departments. As business requirements became more flexible and market-driven, the need for temporary staffing increased. This opened the door to the establishment of companies that would provide workers trained in specific functions such as facilities maintenance, packaged into supervised teams to supplement the customer's existing workforce and be deployed. This became known as staffing augmentation or managed labor, and that was the old business model. From staffing augmentation to managed services. In the old way, staffing augmentation, you still directly managed the additional labor and kept control over the functions whether or not they directly affected your core competency. In the new way, managed services, you outsource the functions that are not essential to your core competency. In difficult economic times, finding and keeping customers is essential. The only way to do this is to focus intently and effectively on your core competence. Simply put, your core competence is what you make or do to satisfy a need for your customers. Everything not focused on this is not a core competence. Outsourcing functions that are not essential to your customers' needs is the basis for establishing a relationship with a managed services provider that can do these functions for you faster, cheaper, and better. What are some of the non-core competencies that you can outsource? Facilities maintenance and operations, security and patrol, warehousing operations, training and compliance, call center activity, administrative, which can be clerical support, and other types of in-office activity. David Letterman is famous for his top 10 lists. We have ours too, but we get it done in 4. Here are our top 4 reasons why managed services is a better way for you to improve your focus on your core competency and save money. Our top reason number 1, cost savings. Any function directly tied to your core competency is one you know how to do efficiently. There are companies that try to do everything themselves. You have no doubt heard of the old expression, jack of all trades, master of none. The problem with doing everything yourself is that you can't fully focus on what matters most to your customer, the product or service that is your core competency. When money and resources are tight as they are now, the more you can devote to improving your core product or service is a way of adding and keeping customers. You are good at this and want to get better. Any function not directly tied to your core competency is one in which you are not expert. Let's think about the problem another way. All of the functions that do not directly impact on your core competency can be outsourced. Your indirect functions are the core competencies of managed services providers. If it is not your core competency, doing it yourself will cost more. Part of being an expert is that you know how to produce the best product or service for the least amount of money. This is what return on investment is all about, isn't it? When you are not expert, the cost of doing something is higher. That's what home improvement companies count on. You start out thinking you can handle the task and buy the tools and materials from the store. Let's not forget your time, since you are the labor. This investment in tools, materials, and time is really your overhead. And how many times during the course of a project did you have to go back for more materials, tools, and advice from the home improvement folks? After you finally figure out that an expert would have done a better job and cost less, that same store will offer contractor services to help you out. Isn't it interesting that they too offer managed services? Outsourcing your indirect functions to a managed services provider has a fixed structure and cost. This is the essence of the managed services value proposition. In addition to initially reducing the cost of fulfilling the outsourced function, having a fixed operating cost benefits budgeting and the control of operating expenses. You do not have to worry about passing unexpected costs along to your customer. It's all about competitive advantage. Managed services are designed to offer a competitive advantage. For the small to medium-sized company, lower operating costs can make the difference between success and failure when competing against larger competitors. Elements of cost. Any manager knows the impact that workers' compensation, disability, and liability insurance have on a company's bottom line. Not to mention the direct and indirect labor costs to a business for sick days, holidays, vacation time, and health insurance. The list of employee benefits contributing to a company's expenses can seem to go on forever and easily spiral out of control. Managed services let you focus on your core competency and its direct functions. They can free you from devoting time and energy to something you may not know a lot about, so you can focus on your customers' needs. Managed services reduce stress. Once the staffing and oversight of indirect functions are outsourced, company managers are freed from the responsibility of interviewing, hiring, conducting performance reviews, and other managerial responsibilities in these non-core areas, allowing them to better focus their efforts on generating revenue. The managed services provider takes over the non-core indirect functions and all staffing associated with them. Your ability to redirect internal talent away from non-core and into core functions means that your people are not distracted from what is most important to your business and your customers. Internal training and development efforts can be better focused on critical functions, such as designing and making a better product, enhancing marketing and sales team performance, and improving customer service. Top reason number 3, reduced risk. Managed services ensure that service levels align with business goals. Even though the functions that you outsource are indirectly related to the achievement of your customer-facing core competency, they are still important to the efficient operation of your business and can indeed impact customer perception and your bottom line if not competently fulfilled. No matter what you sell, you more than likely engage customers in some sort of showroom or other sales-focused venue. Imagine the impact on customer perception that a poorly maintained or insecure venue would have. Indirect functions do affect the overall success of the business. Quality assurance. With a service level agreement in place and key performance indicators to measure their success, the managed services provider becomes an essential partner to the successful attainment of your goals. Service levels are set to support overall business objectives. The assurance of quality is not left to chance. It is built into the agreement and specifically measured. Reporting is consistent, objective, and timely. Keeping up with technology is not your problem. An experienced managed services provider makes technology investments on behalf of all of its customers, not just one. Deploying these investments across the customer base reduces the risk taken on by any single company. Top reason number 4, functions run smoothly. Complex human capital management and business operations processes are optimized and tightly controlled through a managed services engagement. Service level agreements, or SLAs, covering outsourced functions provide for optimal performance and consistent uptime for those functions. With 24/7 support, issues are quickly identified, managed, and resolved so that any impact to productivity is neutralized. As an example, most mid-sized business operations have many moving parts which must function in tandem to achieve optimal results. Yet business operations will experience process exceptions, and these exceptions must be thought through properly and remedies built into the service level agreement ahead of time. Let's quickly review why managed services make sense. It allows you to focus on your core competency. Any function not directly related to the provision of that core competency can be outsourced. Managed services is a more cost-effective business model than traditional staffing augmentation. Managed services stabilizes the operating budget. You receive increased operational efficiency. You gain best practices expertise. You also gain operational excellence and increased competitive advantage. Managed services helps to mitigate risks. With 24/7, 365 management support, unanticipated problems are quickly resolved. Your choice of a managed services provider does matter. Thank you very much for listening to our presentation today. How can we help you focus on your core competency? Please give us a call.